morning and welcome to Peace Out, where we are all working together and learning together how to peace out no matter what. And I want to talk about those no matter what's a little bit this morning because I was looking for the scripture. I was looking in my Bible and I was like, I know it's got to be here. I was like, from Genesis to Revelation, where is it? Got the Strong's Concordance out and got the electronic concordance out and looking at the Bible Gateway and all of this. And I was trying to find the scripture that says that there's an easy way. I was trying to find a scripture that says everything's going to be easy from here on out. Nothing's going to be a problem ever again. I was looking for that and I couldn't find it. You know, sometimes we think that we get saved and then everything's easy. Now, I will say this. When we get saved and we're trusting God, things are easier than they are if we're not trusting God, right? But there's no magic button that just this life's going to be easy. There's no promise. Matter of fact, Jesus promised us that we would have tribulation in this. He says, in this world, you will have tribulation, right? He says, they will hate you. They hate me. They're going to crucify me. They're going to hate you. He actually promised us that we would have struggles. There's not a verse anywhere that we could even probably twist in a way to make it look like there was an easy way for anything. As a matter of fact, God never called anybody to something easy. He never said, okay, I want to anoint you, David, to be king. That's going to be easy. I'm going to anoint you as king, and then tomorrow you wake up, put the crown on, everything's going to be cool. He forgot to tell David that Saul was going to chase him for years, right? And that he was going to be hiding in a cave and that he was going to be fighting, and that he forgot to tell him that Absalom was going to try to raise up and take the kingdom from him and he was going to have to fight his own son. God forgot all those details, but he never promised him. He promised him he was going to be king, but he didn't promise the journey to kingship was going to be an easy road. You know, when God told Moses, go get my people, he didn't say this is going to be really easy. Matter of fact, all through Exodus we see it says he hardened Pharaoh's heart. And Pharaoh kept going, you can go. No, you can't. Yes, you can. No, you can't. So we have 10 plagues because he kept going back and forth. And even just giving the children of Israel out of Egypt, he then took them through the wilderness trying to get Egypt out of the children of Israel because they had that slave mentality. They did not understand relationship. They just meant survive. They just understood survival. They didn't understand that the concept of God taking care of them as they went through the wilderness, but it was not an easy journey. God sent Moses to it. Then he gave it over to Joshua, and it still wasn't easy because they were dealing with all these wayward people in their hearts. The whole thing was about bringing them back to God, not just getting them to the promised land, but letting them learn about God, his provision, his care, his shepherding. But it was not easy. They were not called to something easy. God called Joseph he gave him a prophetic dream when he was a young man and said, your family's going to come bow down before you. And he had that prophetic dream. It didn't make sense at the time anyway. Didn't make any sense at all, right? And then it was like, the road there was not easy. He didn't just wake up some morning and go, oh, here's the picture. I'm here. I'm on the throne. And here's my family. He went through some hard stuff to get there, right? Even Paul, an apostle, he was called to be an apostle. And God said, go preach to the Gentile, go preach to the Jew. And then he said, go preach to the Gentiles. He said, preach my word, go. I'm calling you to be an apostle to the nations. Go, go, go. But he forgot to tell Paul, oh yeah, this is not going to be easy. You're going to be shipwrecked. You're going to be beaten. You're going to be stoned and left for dead. They're going to hate you. They're going to eventually kill you. He forgot to tell him it was not going to be easy. God didn't call anybody to anything easy. It always had stuff. There was always life in the way. There were all these obstacles in the way. There were all these situations that they had to work through. And ultimately, in all of their situations, none of them easy, none of them ideal. Nobody just woke up going, oh, wow, this is great, right? Solomon probably had the easiest one to build the temple, the tabernacle, the temple, yeah. Because David couldn't build it because God said, God, you're going to be seen as a warrior. Now, I want to give you a picture of worship. And we're not going to, although a warrior and worshiper, he was a worshiper because he was a warrior. He was a warrior because he was a worshiper. But that's a whole book, actually. Anyway, and so he says, you killed so many. I want to make sure we're going to have Solomon build the temple, my house. Solomon's going to build my house. Solomon still had to gather stuff up. He still had to get people coordinated and stuff. He might have been the easiest, and yet he messed up too. Right? Nobody was called to something. He didn't just wake up in the morning and the temple was done. He didn't wake up in the morning and he had all the materials. He had to gather materials. He had to get people. He had to do it by specific instructions by God, right? Nothing was easy. Building the ark for Noah was not easy. It was he didn't have power tools, right? He didn't have a real hammer yet, right? There was so many things that nobody was called to something easy. Absolutely no one. God did not say, here we go, and there it was. It was always a process, and in that process, it was all about trusting him. And when you're not going to find an easy story, Gideon taking 300 men to fight an innumerable army that we're not even given the number. Man couldn't figure out how many there were. I'm sure God knew, right? None of these people that we look at, our Bible heroes, were told this is going to be so easy. Let me tell you what I'm going to do with you. Now, Samson took the long way around, the hard way around, but God still did what he promised he was going to do. But it wasn't easy. It sounded easy. I'm just going to give you some strength, and you're going to wipe out Philistines, okay? Samson's like, that sounds cool to me. Let's go, right? But it wasn't easy. He messed up. It's never easy. God did not ever promise anyone, here's what you're going to do. And I mean, that road from here to there, it's so easy. No, everybody had to get to the point where they had to say, I'm going to trust God in this hard. I'm going to trust God in this journey. I'm going to trust him in this situation. I'm going to trust what he said, what he told. See, the children of Israel could have made a much easier journey if they had just trusted what God said. If they had just said in Egypt, God said, I'm taking you to the promised land, they could have gone, okay, let's go. But they went, well, why? We're all going this way. Now we don't have any water. Now you just brought us out here to die. But I will say, I've had that attitude. I'll be honest. You don't have to, right? I've had those feelings sometimes. What'd you do? God did what? Your plan's not making sense right now. Your plan does not make sense, and this is hard. And it's not supposed to be hard. It's supposed to be easy when I have God's plan. No, you're not going to find that here. But I will say, choose your hard, because it's easier to decide to trust God in the hard than it is to try to do hard without trusting God. I'm going to have to go back and listen to that because I don't know if I can say it twice, right? We're going to choose your hard. And it's easier to trust God in the hard than it is to do the hard without trusting God, right? So that is the easy way. It actually makes the hard way easier when we trust him. David wrote this in Psalm 31. You know, I love Psalm 31. Verse 14, he says, but my enemies, verse 13, he says, they're telling rumors about me. I'm surrounded by terror. He put that in the Bible. Wow. My enemies conspire against me, plotting to take my life. He's talking about Saul. But I am trusting you, O Lord. I'm saying you are my God and my future is in your hands. He was trusting God. And when he wrote that, Psalm 31, he was hiding in a cave from Saul, who was pursuing him with his best army, right? Wanting to kill him just because he got jealous. Because Saul, it was all about jealousy. We talked about jealousy last week. And it was all about jealousy because when he killed Goliath, the lady saying, Saul killed 1,000, but David killed 10,000. Saul's like, what is up with that? How dare you? And he got jealous. It was all about being jealous. And he begins to chase David. He had no peace. Here David is sitting in a cave, hiding from Saul because he refuses to fight God's anointed, even though God's anointed was doing something wrong and deliberately fighting him, trying to find him and kill him, right? And he is sitting in a cave, and this is what he's saying. I am trusting you, oh Lord. He knew it was easier to trust God in the hard than it was to try to do the hard without trusting God. That's where we're going to find that power to peace out. It's when we go, God, this is really hard. God, this doesn't make sense. I don't understand why this is coming at me. I don't understand why you called me to do this, but why all this happened? I don't understand. But I am trusting you. And that's continuous present. It means I'm trusting you in every present moment. Right this moment, I'm trusting you. Right this moment, I'm still trusting you. Right this moment, I'm trusting you. It never stops. It's a continuous thing. It's not just I trusted you or I will trust you for this 1 second, but it's I'm going to continue trusting you no matter what. That's what makes the hard easier. It doesn't make the hard easy. It doesn't make the hard go away, but it is much easier to trust God in the hard than it is to do the hard without trusting God. I'm going to put that on a coffee cup or something, right? Or, I don't know, a meme or something, right? Because we got it. That's what David was saying, is I trust you. We look at all these heroes. Joseph trusted God even in the prison, and he didn't even do anything wrong. Even when his brothers betrayed him, he protected that relationship. We know he still served God in his later life. Noah trusted God when he's building an ark in a situation that didn't even make any sense. Job trusted God when he was sick, and everybody said, his wife said, just curse God and die. Let's get this over with. Let's not let you suffer. Let's just get over it with, right? Moses trusted God with a whole bunch of whiny people God forgot to warn him about, right? Whatever situation they were in, they trusted God. And here we have David sitting in a cave going, I'm going to trust you. That's how we're going to peace out today, just by saying whatever's hard in my life, whatever the most difficult things are in my life right now. And I got a list. You got a list? I got a list. I won't give you mine, okay? But we've all got a list of things that are just hard, unfair. They seem unjust. They're just not right. It's just not cool, all right? But we're going to decide to trust God in them. And that's where we learn to peace out, because we're trusting him, even though the hard stuff doesn't just automatically go away. We still got to weather the storm. We're still going to go through the flood. We're going to go through the fire, right? Those things are going to come. But it's so much better to trust God in those things than to try to do them without trusting God. It's so much easier. And when we learn to trust God in the hard, that's when we find out, you know what? He gave me peace anyway. He didn't say, oh, that's hard. Let's not do any peace right now. Let's just wait. Let's wait on the peace. I'm not sure you can appropriate it right. Okay. So I don't know. So let's wait. I don't know. No, he says, I gave you peace. Just let it rain. It's okay. You've got peace, grace, mercy, love, everything you need. You can ask me for wisdom. Let's get through this hard together. Let's get through this hard, trusting God. It's a decision. It's a one big decision. It doesn't change anything except you. I'm going to trust God in this situation. I'm still going to trust him. And that's when we learn to peace out and just trust him through whatever circumstances we're facing today. Peace out, you guys. I hope I said something that made sense. Have a great day. I'll see you again tomorrow.